Okay, the moment of truth. Okay, but again, I don't know what's under here. Honestly, I haven't looked or anything else like that. So I would always just say, don't worry about it. Even if it's got horrendously wrong, this is modelling. At the end of the day, you just come back and you can redo it. So anyway, let's get into it. I don't know the best way of actually unmasking this. Okay, so I'll find my way even in. Let's see what we've got. So when you're unmasking, don't be ripping at it. You just want to take your time, because again, if you start tearing at it, what's going to happen is you're going to end up with a situation where you're going to peel off paint. So again, it's just being careful as you're making your way through. And so I normally start at the edges, and we'll just work our way through. So far so good. We've got no bleed through or anything else. And even if you did have certain bleed throughs, I'm sort of in some ways hoping we have going to have a few bits so I can show you how I deal with it. Because again, this is one of these things where you can come along with, you know, sanding, scraping, you know, just to actually remove any little bits of bleed and stuff through. See, we've got a little bit just there, just here. So that's something we'll have to deal with. And again, when you're unmasking, careful where you go stabbing at it and picking at it, because what you can end up doing is actually tearing the tape, and then it will just, any peeling you've got goes through. It's actually looking very nice, I have to say. Happy so far. And again, just need a little bit of work. I was a bit worried about that. Those, to be honest, because obviously where you've got vortex generators, it's not hooking down. So there we go, that's actually all looking pretty darn good. Let's get down over here. What I'll do is I'll do half and then I'll show you the other half. Again, just trying to, amazingly, it doesn't look too bad at all. I'll get this off. But as you can see down in here, it's actually not looking too bad. There's a little bit here I'm probably going to just redo. So we're just going to blow this curve in a little bit more, but generally it's actually looking all right. Color-wise, I'm very happy with as well. And again, don't forget, we're going to go round, we're going to sand this back a little bit. But down under here, this lip section, and we've got this edge, happy of how that's looking. That's all looking pretty, very, very nice down in there. So, well worth spending the extra time doing a bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on unmasking here, and then we'll come together, see exactly what mess we've made, and how we go about fixing it, and things like that. But so far there's only a couple of little places. I'm happy to report the rest of it's turned out very, very nice indeed. So I'm secretly thinking we're okay. And there we go. And I'm amazed the intake system actually worked, which is very good as well to see, because I wasn't expecting it to be quite as good as it has. I've got to do a little bit of touch up just down in here, but underneath here we got this edging and the banding, and everything else actually has worked very, very well. There's a couple of little areas like this bit in here I want to redo because that's a bit of a funny line. The rest of it I'm okay. There's a couple of little jaggedy bits, but as for overspray getting in there, we've been really lucky and haven't had too much. Colour as well, really happy. Now we've got that sort of weathered look into it. It's not as strong as a green would be, so actually that's looking really, really good. So what I'm going to do is clear this all away and everything else like that. I'm going to have a proper look. Okay, I have to say, I think that worked really, really well. Hopefully you agree. Looking very much like a Vulcan. A couple of things obviously it worries you about when you're doing this type of work. First of all is the colour. Because when you're masking up and things like that, you sort of take it off and you're like, okay, hopefully that colour is okay. Because obviously there's nothing worse if, like, you know, you unmask it and the grey looks different. Because then you've got that thing about how you're going to go back, which is okay because we have still got the original ones down in here, which we could, wherever they are from, stick these back down in some semblance to put those back in, but you really don't want to have to do that. So you're happy with the grey colour, everything else in there. I have already tidied up a couple of ones. So we've got this one down in here, which was a little bit of a mishmash down here, and somehow I completely ballsed up the front end down in here as well. Again, areas I'm really happy with is the intakes. That's worked out, hopefully you'll agree, better than a paper mask. Those absolutely nailed it. Very happy, considering this is it. This is all these were was old bits of sponge that we'd shoved down in there, technically making the FOD covers down into it. As you can see, our main worry was going to get bleed and it wasn't going to be a sharp line in there, but actually, no, we're okay. So I'm actually one of those areas where it's turned out a lot better than I ever thought possible. It's not perfect. There is still a few little areas that need to take care. One is this one in here, this sort of reversal. If we do it this way, the heart shape, I think it needs to be a little bit more slightly shallower, if anything. So we might come back with the grey in a minute just to tidy that up down in there. And there's a couple of other little areas which is, it's just got a little bit of bleed on this area down in here. But generally I think when that's what we were going for, and this is what we've ended up with, I don't think we're that far out. I think in the great scheme of it, we're pretty much how we want it to be. So I'm happy with that. Obviously we can do lots of things with weathering about this one. We're going to put literally a sort of gloss coat onto here. And don't forget, one of the key things is these black areas. So as you can see down in here, we've got the black front to go on. We've got various areas in this one. And obviously we've got various decals and things which will really bring this to life once it is all together. So it's still got a long way to go before we're proper happy. At the same time, make sure you paint up these little guys as well, these speed brake ones. They're higher, they don't have to be 100% the same colour because I'm doing them deployed, but if you are doing them recessed option as well, then maybe you want to think about that. So next what we want to do is obviously mask up for the black work. So we've got to do these ones obviously down here on the tail. We've got the ones on the front as well to put in. One thing just to mention, you might notice under here we've got some of these areas which do come as decals. The only thing is that when I've looked at these are black. So I don't know why they are in this colour. Something that perhaps I'll obviously have to do a little bit more research on this one. But definitely the rest of them is fine. But what we can do is we can mask off as well these areas down here at the back. We've got the engine areas to go on. But some of these little markings down in here we need to take care of as well. But generally I think we're all okay how it's going to be. And obviously once we get the markings on this, it will really change. But first of all, we want to paint any other areas we can, which we'll do. So we're going to mask off his tail, which to be honest, that's dead easy because it's just going to be a strip across here. Round the front end as well, so we get that masked. It'll really properly look like a Vulcan then. Then we can flip over and we'll do these underneath here as well, and we can do the engine nozzles as well to make sure they're looking very nice and happy with that. But hopefully you can see now it's unmasked. You see the patchiness that we sort of done underneath working, and by fading this top coat as well, I know it's not as strong as perhaps some people were thinking it was going to be, but I didn't want it too over the top. But there is definite transfers and different shades down in here, and I think by the time we get a wash on this, it will really pop and come to life. Right, so with the paintwork all done, looking very nice, just about fit it all in camera, as you can see. It's actually got a really nice finish to this, and I would be more than happy to decal straight onto it. But The big thing is this thing in real life is glossy. It's actually like a gloss finish onto it. It's not like a reflective gloss, so I'm going to go for a more scaled effect to it, so it's going to have a satin coat, and also we want the weathering to bite a bit. So what we can do is actually put a clear coat down. So really any type of clear coat we do. So we got down here like LP9, that's a really good one to be honest. And another one I really like is Attacker's clear coat as well. It looks a bit like a sample, it looks a little bit yellow, but actually it dries crystal clear. And the great thing is about it, they dry really fast because they're lacquer-based ones. So obviously if you're using something else, you might want to wait a day or two, let that coat totally go off before you start decaling it, purely because, and we'll talk about them a little bit more in a minute, but if you're using some of the setting solutions, the enzymes in that can actually soften acrylic paint. And if you've ever had tide marks, it looks like white marks around it, that's what it is. It's an acid, and the acid is etching into the softened coat, so it does need to totally go off. One other thing to think about as well, and I just had a couple of spots down in here. One, check for overspray, because obviously don't forget in a minute you're going to seal all of this in and there's no coming back from it. But the other thing as well, if you've got overspray, what you can do is literally just lightly sand it off. And I don't know if you can see it, but I've got a small shadow just down in here, which is actually the perfect width for Tamiya tape. Now normally I honestly wouldn't worry about it, because it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's just part of the weathering and it's going to get grimy anyway. But if you do, again, we're talking about textures on a recent show, sanding stick, an old one is fantastic for it. Just lightly blend it, and you don't have to do the entire area, you're just trying to take out the front edge. So if we just do this bit here and just give it a light rub, that's gone now. So as you can see, that's gone. It's still here, but it's gone there. So again, you can just literally blend in, but don't do the entire thing, just do the edge of it and just lightly rub, and you can take it out of that situation just like that again, and you can find it's beautifully smooth again, just like that all the way through. Again, if you feel around it and you feel it's a really rough texture, right, we're saying, recent video, go off and watch it, is literally light sand right over, and just go over it and just give it a very light rub. Don't rub it too hard, because obviously you'll be taking the paint off, but there, if you feel it, it'll feel lovely and smooth. So if you've got any roughness, any texture, anything else like that that just feels a little bit too much, just give it a light rub with an old sander, and that will really help things out. That goes for the top as well. So what we're going to do, we're going to pop over to the spray bay, and we're going to actually put a clear coat down onto this one right the way over, just like that. Last thing, just before I forget as well, if you ever get some sticky tape residue, you know, sometimes you feel it, especially if you use the cheaper ones, and you can feel it's a little bit sticky. Quickest and easiest way is to use enamel thinners, you know, and I know there's lots have been said about using WD-40 and stuff like that, for everyone says, but for this type of stuff it's more safer. Okay, onto a cotton bud, and then just give it a rub. You will notice then what happens is that the gluey, you know, stuff on here will just roll up and rub away, and you're good to go. Then give it a light sand afterwards, and you're back to square one and good to go. So if you ever get any gluey bits left behind off of cheaper, you know, tapes, to be honest, 40mm Tamiya tape's a nightmare for it. It often leaves it behind, but the thinner ones don't seem to do it. But again, get rid of that now, because you don't want to be sealing anything in. So just think about this as being almost like a checkpoint or a save point in a game. You can go back pretty much to what you've got here now. So if everything goes wrong in the weathering and stuff like that, you can come back. Even if the decaling went wrong, you can come back to this stage before you move on. So let's get over in the spray bay, and we'll just give this a quick clear coat. Right, as always, if you're dealing with clear coats and stuff, you literally want to make sure it's 100% clear, because you don't want to be spraying out anything else. So like I always say, grab a bit of tissue, come along. You see you've got a little bit of green down in here. But the thing is you want to watch for is when you run out of thinners, what happens? If you suddenly get like a tail, as I call it, it's the last gasp of the paint, and you get a green splat out the end, obviously that will be a nightmare. So just make sure that's not happening and you're all clear just like that, all right? So usual thing, we're going to put in about a 60 to 65% thinners to the actual clear coat stuff onto this. Okay, so I'm getting quite low on there as well. Alright, so we just give that a bit of a whiz. Just down in now. Make sure you put your colour cut cap on. Alright, and then again, this is going to be quite a wet coat on this. So to be honest with you, I am going to put a respirator on, because this can get a bit gnarly, and we hit the extractors, but hopefully you'll still be able to hear us. Okay, so check our coat. So what we'll do, we'll start down in here. So you can probably see how much this changes of it being on, but if you notice it, it looks pretty darn wet. That's what you want. It will dry really quickly, again, because it's obviously got the rapid thinners into this one, but it's got a nice finish. So this should give us a really nice satin finish right the way over on this one. So we just do the other side. So there you go, you can see how you want this nice glossy finish onto this one. Again, it doesn't have to be like a mirror because that's not what we're going for, but as you can see, it's got that nice type of glossy finish, and obviously the green has got a little bit more of a flatter texture than the grey has. The grey is actually a little bit smoother, but again, by the time you put this down, you can see this is now drying on here already. It's now an even between both. That means the actual glossiness of it is exactly the same, whereas before, you can probably see on the front here where we haven't done it yet, definitely the grey is a little bit more glossy than anywhere else. So again, this is literally drying to touch now. It dries that quick. Again, it's going to have that sort of eggshell effect, so I won't go around handling it, but this will be perfect for decaling onto it. And like we said before, we've protected that little area to it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to sort of hold the front now. I'm going to carry on. We're going to do the underside. We'll get that glossed up as well. Then we're going to leave it for around about an hour or two just to totally harden off, and then we'll get going with the decaling. Right then, so to be honest with you, I was just about to do the decaling, but I thought I'd let this go off for a little bit, so I thought we could get on some wheels at the same time, making sure I've got clean hands. Okay, so as you can probably see, we are very nice and glossy, both sides, all done. That's ready for decaling. So again, just always leave it a couple of hours, even if you're using rapid drying thinners, just to let that dry off quite quickly. So what we got down in front of us is the gear is done and painted. So that's really straightforward because everything's just black. So there we go. And also we've pre-done the wheels of black as well. So for this one, to be honest, we've used LP5, which is really nice because we can go over these with a little bit of pigment and that on there. But obviously we've got to paint the hubs. Now the hubs can be a little bit of a nightmare, and this is where this comes in. So this is just a very, very cheap, you know, just literally like a quid or whatever it was. Years ago I've had it, and as you can see, I use it for spraying down onto wheel hubs. So this is a little thing where for years I would paint them literally the hub colour, then have to go around and paint the tyres, and that's a real ball because trying to get it to line up and be nice is a little bit of a nightmare. So by using this, what you're basically doing is we've got two sizes down here. We've got the mains and the other ones. We're not worried about the inside of these because you can't physically see it, so it's just the outsides. So what you need to do is, I'm grabbing my magnifier so we can see, we just need to work out both hub sizes. So all we do, we come along with this little guy and we go along on here, and obviously that 7.5 is too big, that's getting close, that I would say is pretty much there. Trouble is obviously we've gone over it so many times I can't see what size that is now. So but that's actually a 6mm hub. Okay, so that's good. So 6mm hub we can work. So we're just going to grab our tape. Even with our masking tape gone. Hold on, we've lost our masking tape. Let's just grab a bit of a cheapy stuff for this type of work. So we're just going to grab 2 of these and we're just going to go 6mm again, was this one here. So we're just going to put a bit of tape over each side. Now the reason I'm putting a piece of tape over each side is so the overspray doesn't go through and spray your wheel. So we just pop that each side and then we just double check again. So that's fine for that side. Then we'll flip it over, check it is okay for the other side, and I think that hub side is great. So what we're going to do is we will start with the backs, because these are the ones which are probably going to be the most troublesome. We've already got an airbrush loaded up here with a little bit of silver, and for this one we're using stainless steel, purely because it's got a nice colour. We place the template over the top, as central as you can, and then we just spray straight down 90 degrees onto it, and we remove, and that's the hub done. And again we'll do the same on the other side. Now it is a little bit bright, but we're going to put a wash over this so it'll dull it down. So that's the theory and I'm sticking to it. So other side, there we go, that's both of those done. And then what we can do is we can then work out the sizes for the backside, and as you can see they are a lot smaller. So what we're going to do is we're just going to literally do the same on the other side. It's a bit smaller, but what I'm going to do is I'll just let that dry for a moment, and again it's not going to take long, it's got a lacquer thinners into it. We'll flip it over, spray the actual front side, the face side of it if you like, and we'll do it. And again, if it slightly gets scratched or scraped or anything else, it's not a problem because it's the inner ones and you'll never see that anyway, and that's the point to it. But by using this is absolutely great because you can just mask up your area into it and you're literally good to go. And there we go, hub done. And then over onto this one, and again keeping it pretty much straight down, straight on. And there we go, that's your wheel hubs done, literally just like that. Really, really straightforward, very nicely done, no problem at all. Alright, so we just show you on this one. So again, we're going to do the insides first, so we just work this out for the size. So actually that pretty much I would say is it. So that size there is 5.5. So we're just going to come across here. We'll manoeuvre these over the top and we go down. Alright, the other thing as well, always just shoot on one side so it's nice and clean because you don't want it getting messy again. So that's how we do it. So we'll just place this down on here, and this one's a nice fit. So we're just going to go one. We'll just work our way across them all. And these fit absolutely perfect into the hub. So these are really straightforward. And again, when you're putting this down, you're literally just dusting it on. Don't be don't be putting it down too wet, because otherwise what's going to happen is it's going to soak right underneath. And again, it's usually worth as well just waiting a few minutes between doing the fronts and backs, because otherwise what can happen is you can smudge the underside. So there we go. This is the quickest way you ever paint wheels in your life. So then, as you can see, we have all our wheels all painted up, all ready to go. Look, all ready to be fitted on, just like that. How quick and easy is that compared to the old ways of going around with the brush and everything else? Literally a £1 little thing. You can go out and spend a fortune. There are companies that will flog you these ones, but the kids' school ones, back to school things like that in the supermarkets, grab yourself some of this. I've had this thing for 20 years now, and yeah, one of those tools which is just invaluable for doing this type of thing. Once you've done it once, you'll never go back to hand painting wheels ever again. The great thing with these is we've got nice surface detail on this. We'll come along with a black wash to take care of the insides for all those areas. When you look at them, they look very much like black, and obviously with the aluminium colour. So that's what we're going to do. That's why it's a little bit shiny, because it will knock back with the wash on there. So again, you can either use enamel washes, we might use clay washes because it's a little bit cleaner and easier, and at the same time you can then weather the tyre around it. We're probably going to put flat spots onto these as well, just to make them a little bit nicer. But really, when these start to come together and we can start to fit these on here, again taking a bit of a chance because this is still wet, but as you can see, it'll look very much the part when they're down on here like this. If we can get the other one in, if it will hold. And again, we've made them a little bit bigger purely by their nature. But there we go, that's our gear on there, literally just like that, which will look absolutely great once we get them all glued and done and put together. So that's really nice job on those ones. Again, same thing with these as well. We'll take a little bit of a risk. These are quite a loose fit. But we're saying about this hub business, good catch. Okay, it is that thing where, yes, of course, the insides of the tyres, if you want to do those, knock yourself out. But from our point of view, as you said, you're not really going to see that gear. And certainly the insides of the hubs. Your main problem is going to be seeing if you can get all the tyres to sit perfectly on the ground. And again, from our point of view, we're going to do a little bit of sanding on this just to give them a little bit of a flat spot, so it hasn't got that sort of image, especially on a low down photo shot across where we're almost levitating. So we need to give them a little bit of weight on wheels just to help them out. But anyway, that's the gear done. So now we'll pop that out the way, all ready to be fitted onto it. So now, which I won't touch it yet, we're going to get on with some decaling.